Hey everybody, I'm Gareth Lingens and this is Smells Like Teen Spirit, and welcome to my channel. In this first video, I'm going to discuss the difference between accidental relationship building with teenagers and intentional relationship building with teenagers. And in order to do that, I'm going to look at what accidental versus intentional relationship building looks like, 2, the result of accidental versus intentional relationship building, and 3, introduce you to the next steps after you have made a decision on how to build better relationships with teenagers. So let's get into that right now. So let's start with what an accidental relationship might look like by looking at how dictionary.com defines an accident. According to dictionary.com, the word accident is an undesirable or unfortunate happening that occurs unintentionally. It further defined accident as any event which happens unexpectedly without a deliberate plan or cause. Now let me ask you this question. Do any of those words describe what your current relationship building process is with teenagers? Specifically, the phrase without a plan. If you could even call that a relationship building process. Because I don't think relationships can really happen by accident. If any of those words describe what your relationship building with teenagers looks like, then it's not in a very healthy place. It looks very much like the mess in the teenager's room. Okay, so let's take a look at what the word intention means according to dictionary.com. Intention is defined as an act or instance of determining mentally upon some action or result. Purpose or attitude with respect to relationship. What are your intentions of getting married? There was one very interesting meaning of intention, which is actually taken from the medical field and refers to the meaning or process of healing, as in the healing of an open wound or broken bone, where the body does all the work, which is called healing by first intention. Wouldn't you want to make a conscious, decisive, and purposeful decision to build better relationship with teenagers? That could bring healing on so many levels. Of course you would. So hopefully this is becoming a little bit clearer for you. And so the question is, are you relying on building your relationships with teenagers to be more accidental, or are you relying on it to be more intentional? What would happen if you left building relationships with teenagers to happen by accident? And that's the second thing I want to talk about. The results of if you left building relationships with teenagers to happen by accident or intentional. I came up with a very basic analogy. You leaving the relationship building with a teenager to happen by accident is like letting a drunk teenager without any driving ability get behind the steering wheel of a car. It's an accident waiting to happen, and when it does, it's going to end in disaster, harm, loss, chaos, injury, hurt, pain, and even death. You might be saying, well, that's a little bit extreme to compare a drunk driving teenager driving a car with leaving building a relationship with a teenager to happen by accident. How are they the same? I think it's very simple. In both cases, you could end up with a damaged teenager. A damaged teenager? We all want to avoid damage to a teenager, don't we? What is a damage caused to a teenager by leaving that relationship building to happen by accident? For me, I would say it's quite simple. A damaged teenager could potentially become a dysfunctional adult. And we all know a dysfunctional adult or 10. You see, teenagers need to navigate emotions, friendships, relationships, sex, decision making, how to meet deadlines, communication skills, figuring out self-discipline. I could probably go on, and all the things that are expected of functional adults when they get there. They literally have 7 years to learn some of the most critical elements of what it means to be an adult. And if you're not there, then what? So let's go back to driving a car. Whenever a teenager learns to drive a car, there should be someone right beside them. Teach them how to drive, and even waiting to pull up the handbrake to try and avoid any mishaps or accidents. Why do we sit alongside teenagers to help them drive a car, but we don't get alongside them in the most important years of their lives, if no one intentionally gets alongside them and builds a relationship with them, helping them to be functional adults, it could be just as disastrous as letting a drunk teenager get behind the wheel and drive without any assistance. I can tell you, as a high school teacher, that there is no way that we can teach teenagers everything about what they need to know to function as a responsible adult. It's time we got into the passenger seat and intentionally built better relationships with teenagers so that we can help them to navigate their way safely into adulthood. Or you could give them a beer and let them figure it out by themselves. You might say, what are the results then of intentional relationship building with teenagers? 1, probably a more functional adult. 2, a relationship that is tighter and that will probably last a lifetime. 3, the deep feeling of satisfaction knowing you have hopefully taught teenagers to navigate their lives a little bit better, and ultimately that you could potentially shape them into world-changing adults. There is nothing more satisfying than teaching something to someone that no one will ever be able to teach them again, like riding a bicycle. Now, imagine being the person who gets alongside a teenager and teaches them to drive and navigate some of the most important years of their lives, and helps them to learn some of the most important skills needed to be an adult. That perhaps no one will ever be able to teach them again. In a simple question, do you know what it feels like to have played a significant role in a teenager's life, knowing that you have taught them something that has helped them flourish as an adult today? I do. I can tell you that on countless occasions. But what about you? Are you going to allow that process to be accidental or intentional? Lastly, let me introduce you to the next steps if you choose to intentionally build better relationships with teenagers. And it's a personal story, so hear me out. I was preparing some of the content and equipment for my YouTube channel, and I was sending some messages to a colleague about some of the things I'd been up to. At one point, he asked what I was planning to do with the equipment. I said to him, I plan to make a YouTube channel where I share my knowledge on how to build better relationships with teens. Now here's some more context to this colleague of mine. This colleague of mine is a former pupil of the school that I teach at, a hockey player that I coached at a first team level, and who has gone on to study education and is now teaching maths alongside me at the same school. This colleague I have taught, coached, and now I've been appointed as his mentor at the school as he starts his first year of teaching. When I told him about the idea, I said to him that he is definitely one of those guys that could use my experience and knowledge to build better relationships with teenagers. His reply is what floored me and gave me the light bulb moment. For these first 5 videos, he said 100%, and that's what I plan to do. Masalam. To intentionally build better relationships with teenagers, you need a plan. Now, I can't cover all of that in this video. And so, in the next 4 videos, I will help you take the next steps to help you shape your own plan to intentionally build better relationships with teenagers. So check out my next 4 videos. They might not all be there right now because they're works in progress, where I break up the word plan into 4 letters, P, L, A, and N, and give you a comprehensive plan to intentionally build better relationships with teenagers. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch my video. Please subscribe to my channel to be notified of when I release new content, and get ready for the plan. Very importantly, comment below by simply saying intentional if you have made up your mind as to how you will build a better relationship with teenagers. And then obviously like the video with a thumbs up, and then even more important I suppose, share this with someone else so that we can help more people steer more teenagers in the right direction. Till next time, when I bring the P of plan, keep well and happy driving. Cheers.